So this one's for really all the people of America. But it's for my black people. And it's because I know you didn't know this. But this is where your victory is at every time when it comes to civil rights. And I'm not talking about what you can do or can't do in a circumstance where an officer has got you handcuffed, you're on the ground, and his knee's on your neck. We all know what that is. That's just something else. It still qualifies for the 9th Amendment. But you lost your life. What's the point? That's not supposed to happen. So, I cover this frequently. It's all constitutional because it's presidential. And what I do is I dominate your entire government with the Constitution. Because they're all stupid. So, now the 9th Amendment, when it was created, had in mind the idea that it was for legislation. However, it doesn't matter whether it's legislation or not, because the 8th Amendment would tell you the same thing. It's a matter of what you're doing. So, for instance, a police department, which represents state, local, federal authority, may not torture somebody or otherwise administer cruel and unusual punishment. Doesn't matter if it's legislated or not. That becomes an argument in court. Not only is it all of these other things, they represent federal. And they're torturing me. So it's a hypothetical argument. It really happens, though. But this can be through practice or activity, policy, which does not exist. There's no such thing. There's only law. And legislation. So the 9th Amendment tells us you can't construe any powers or rights, and I cover this, rights and powers become equivalent and congruent based off of your government position. Becomes a job, responsibility, and duty. Something you're not only obligated to do, you must do. They call some of these things fiduciary. You have federal duties and responsibilities. You're a congressman or woman. You're a judge. You have more power than a common civilian in your position while executing it. And don't try to pick apart my diction and punctuation because I'm not writing this out. So when and where applicable, obviously there is a comma, a period, a colon, a semicolon, an interrobang if you want. We can... But you can't construe any of these rights or powers together, and all of our rights and powers, the powers that we have rights through differ from person to person. Our general civil rights remain consistent and the same for all of us. So, for instance, I may not legislate anything. I can put forth a suggestion. The people that do that, they're legislators. They pass laws. It may go to a judge for a ruling, whether it's constitutional, acceptable, or permissible. In my current function, I can't do that. I may suggest, I may advise. You can always play a part, but you understand the difference now. This is another prime example of, well, some people have rights through powers. Well, that's their right. That's a certain right of our government officials. You can't take that away or you just lose the entire government. So rights and powers become congruent. interchangeable, depending again on as long as you make the distinction, which is pertinent. And this is all important because it's not just about general civil rights, it's about all of our rights and our powers. You may not ever construe these against one another. This was, again, the civil rights movement. This would have been the core, the beating heart of that issue. It's the Ninth Amendment. Well, you have, the country is set, the Ninth Amendment's telling you that, but the immunities and privileges tell you that. Everything's saying this is for the United States and the people. They finally got it right. But it might have been because they made some errors to begin with. And it was that the country, from its inception, was inherently racist. And that was holistically attached to slave ownership. But the Ninth Amendment would have told us from the start, you can't do this. Now, we can only see that from nowadays, because back then, that was just what was going on, and people didn't all think this way. The Ninth Amendment would have told us from the start, this can't be happening. You can't take what are you doing? You can't, what amendment in here told you that these people over here don't retain any rights, or don't have the same rights that you do? And again, that's only an argument that can be made from post-civil rights era or during it, because we didn't. It's just the way our country evolved. We didn't all have that mindset yet, except for the people that were being disparaged against. Hey, where are my rights at? So an example is, I like to use this, it's an easy one, harassment. So somebody who's uneducated or uninformed in how the Constitution works, or what they don't read the whole Constitution. And that's okay, you're not a president. And that's why presidents tell you what it means, and they touch important topics. You can walk around and you could yell stuff at somebody. And you go, well, why not? I have freedom of speech. I can do whatever I want. I have freedom of speech. I can do this to this person every time. I have freedom of speech. There are different forms of harassment. And what that's doing really is where harassment evolves out of and from, in case people don't know, or anybody didn't ever know, is a violation of the Ninth Amendment. Again, you're attempting to construe your First Amendment right against someone else's obvious civil liberties. And it could go as extreme as, like this city and this county does, you don't even have the right to sleep. We're going to use our voices on you. Now, they assault people with weaponry that's illegal. It's assault with a deadly weapon because they're using it to try and murder. They're damaging people's bodies and brains. They might be doing it across the country, but they refuse to admit that it exists, so you have to go see holy oracles. I figured out the whole system. It's just screaming at you. Here's what I'm doing. I'm stupid, and I'm criminal, and I'm a terrorist. I'm your government. So they use holy oracles or psychologists inside of their holy temples or their behavioral health service centers. And you are forced to go here by law enforcement because they're the ones executing this against you. And when you report crimes, either electronic hacking or voices being shot into your head that just suddenly happen, like in my case, April the 9th of 2018, I'm 33 and a half years of age, they begin using this technology on me. I didn't just go, well, gee, I came down with a case of schizophrenia that they gave to me because of my physical appearance. So they force you, and rather than receiving an investigation, not just on the voices in the head, that they use through technology, and it just bypasses transduction, which is the entire process of hearing, the way that your brain hears and converts sound into electrical signal or frequency, or electronic frequency. So rather than the investigation, they send you down to a psychologist, and that's the new investigator, and it's blaring loud, it's screaming at you, here's what we are, we're a terrorist county sheriff's department and Stockton police departments, probably their entire, we work with all the police departments in the county, probably, and the state. We work with behavioral health services inside of our jail, and all they do is walk up to you every day and ask you if you're hearing voices in your head to try and get you for schizophrenia. And when you go down for the investigation by a psychologist, you go, before you ever get there, if you're smart like I am, if you have an ounce of cerebral acuity, you go, why am I going to a psychologist for an investigation? And you get there, and the psychologist, there's no investigation done, just goes, you're delusional, dispels everything that you just told him or her, and you leave and go, okay, well, that didn't achieve anything for you. Achieved everything for the sheriff's department and their police departments and the terrorist thugs that they work with in the government. It hid all their crime. It's not even a puzzle. This isn't even a mystery. It's really easy to figure out. Okay, so why would you be skirting investigations and sending people to psychologists and psychiatrists and having them diagnosed with... Mine just blows the case wide open. Physical appearance schizophrenia, with detachments from reality and delusions for reporting crimes. So mental health is a legislated obstruction of justice in the state of California. It's also a violation of the 9th Amendment because they can arrest you, as they did me, for committing no crime. It becomes what they call a civil offense. You know, like civil liberties that are supposed to be what defines, well, your capacity, capability, and right to possess freedoms, expressions, and liberties that are non-criminal. They now call those civil crimes. And it goes to mental health. So you don't have any civil rights. And the sheriff's department told me this to my face after I was brutalized. You have no rights. Pretty much like a guy's like, I can't breathe. And he goes, fuck your breath. And just shoots you and kills you. Or you got your knee on somebody's neck and they're handcuffed and they're like, I can't breathe. It's been 4 minutes. You're murdering me. And a doctor, maybe working for behavioral health services or somewhere else, walks up and goes, well, let me see if you murdered him yet. Okay, well, he's not dead yet. Keep going. So in the state of California, the 9th Amendment transgression is that they have legislated mental health, and they now have peace officers that may arrest you for following the law. And they just pull it out of their ass. They arrest you for not committing crime. It's a non-criminal offense. I mean, it's a non-infraction. It's not even a traffic violation. It's nothing. It's your freedom of speech. No, that's a violation of the 9th Amendment because they've legislated. That's prohibited in the 1st and the 9th. So they didn't follow the 10th to begin with. Now, anytime that you circumvent the 10th, it's an automatic dual violation. You violate the 9th. And then to violate the 9th, what you've done is when you passed a law that's prohibited through the 10th, you violated some other amendment or article, the enumeration in the Constitution that guarantees you certain rights. You violated something. The 10th has certain rights in it. As I said, legislative power, democratic power of the people, and any right that you pass becomes certain. just as certain as any article or amendment in the Constitution, and or until it's repealed. Struck down, otherwise rendered non-functional. Legislatively recanted. So as always, the axis of the civil rights movement is now and will remain, has been, the Ninth Amendment. Whether through practice, meaning activity, which results in crime if it's not already legislated as a crime, policy, or the legislation itself. So when you do that, what I'm doing is I'm giving black people power, to presidential power through the Constitution, because I don't hear any of them echoing this, and you should be echoing presidential power. The 14th Amendment also says you have equal protection. All of these things happen, it breaks down. Well, you violated the 10th, the 9th, whatever other amendment or article that you have violated through the 10th, you're construing the 10th against some other right. And now we've lost equal protection. Well, because what I do is I go around the city, and the reason I do this is because it was the cause of me being civilly arrested and having to take enchanted chemicals, or being stuck by their needles involuntarily through a high oracle judge for following the law. Which made no sense when I recited my constitutional rights and went, well, I didn't commit a crime, I'm not even charged. That makes no sense to the high oracle judge in robes. So what I do is I go around the city with a camera and I tape everybody and get them arrested civilly by a peace officer, or me. I can make a civilian's arrest now because peace officers can do this. I have the same power and authority that a police officer does when it comes to making an arrest. I'm a citizen of the United States of America. So I take a video and I inquire to everybody regarding whether they think people die or not. And any of them that share the same sentiments as me or beyond, they have to be arrested, go down to the Holy Temple at 12:12 and take chemicals. Otherwise, it's unequal protection and treatment. This is targeting. The attempted murder of an individual. Murder. So, as long as we agree for involuntary treatment of individuals who follow the law, then I will never remove my right to involuntarily kill all officers in San Joaquin County, their judges, and their behavioral health service staff. Because that's what treason directs us to do. It's involuntary. This isn't even, we don't even go through Congress, we don't arrest you, we just kill you. They're practicing treason, and they're claiming absolute, ultimate authority, ultimate power have been their very words, and that they're invincible and can't be touched. This is the Sheriff's Department in San Joaquin County, their police departments, their judges, their mental health staff, and behavioral health services. So, of course, this is always for everybody in America, but directed at, because they are the ones who have gone through it in this country, and they deserve, if somebody possesses the intelligence to help them and direct them into, this is a power position, always. Recite the Constitution and you're arguing from a presidential level. So, the federal Constitution. Sometimes they get caught up in little laws, and what they don't realize is what might have happened is the 10th Amendment was already violated, the 9th was already violated, and you're in a battle of little municipal or state laws, and those are already violative of the Constitution. Go straight to the Constitution. Here's where it's at every single time, and that's where you retain power over all of them. The federal Constitution of the United States of America is the seed. It is above, before, and thus more powerful than all other laws in this land. Again, as quickly here, Article 6, Section 1, Supremacy Clause tells you this. All laws in this country, all of them, there is not an exception, are created in pursuance of the Constitution of the United States of America.